War is one of humanity's oldest realities, and yet, throughout history, even war has had rules. The Geneva Conventions are among the most important international agreements that set limits on armed conflict. But what exactly are these conventions? Why do they matter? And what are their strengths and weaknesses in modern warfare? Today, let's dive deep into the history, the principles, and the impact of the Geneva Conventions and the laws of war. The idea that even war should have rules is not new. Ancient civilizations such as the Greeks, Romans, and even early Asian empires had customs that forbade the killing of prisoners or the unnecessary destruction of crops. Fast forward to the 19th century, modern warfare with industrial weapons and massive armies made human suffering unimaginable. The turning point came after the Battle of Solferino in 1859. A Swiss businessman, Henry Dunant, witnessed the horrific suffering of wounded soldiers left on the battlefield without aid. His experience led to the creation of the International Committee of the Red Cross, or the ICRC, in 1863. Just a year later, in 1864, the very first Geneva Convention was signed, focusing on the treatment of the wounded in battle. Over time, more conventions followed, especially after the devastation of World War I and World War II. By 1949, 4 Geneva Conventions had been adopted, and they remain the foundation of modern humanitarian law. The Geneva Conventions are actually a set of 4 treaties. The first convention protects wounded and sick soldiers on land. The second convention protects wounded, sick, and shipwrecked members of armed forces at sea. The third convention deals with the treatment of prisoners of war. The fourth convention protects civilians in times of war, including those in occupied territories. Together, these treaties lay out the minimum standards of humane treatment during armed conflict. In addition, there are additional protocols adopted in 1977 and 2005, which expand protections to cover guerrilla fighters, civil wars, and even conflicts involving modern technology. The Geneva Conventions define the laws of war, often called international humanitarian law. Some of the key rules include humane treatment of all individuals, no torture, cruel treatment, or degrading punishment, protection of medical services and humanitarian workers. Hospitals, ambulances, and Red Cross personnel cannot be targeted. Rules for prisoners of war. They must be provided food, water, shelter, and protection against violence. Protection of civilians. Civilians should never be deliberately targeted, and collective punishment is prohibited. Limits on weapons and tactics. The use of indiscriminate weapons like chemical warfare is outlawed. In short, the laws try to separate combatants from non-combatants and to reduce unnecessary suffering, even during battles. Now, the big question: are the laws of war effective? Pros: they create a moral and legal framework that holds nations accountable. They protect the most vulnerable groups in war: civilians, prisoners, and the wounded. They provide a common standard, recognized by almost every country in the world. They give organizations like the Red Cross the authority to operate during conflicts. Cons: they are often violated, sometimes blatantly, with little or no consequences. Enforcement is weak. The International Criminal Court and war crimes tribunals face political limitations. Modern warfare, cyber attacks, drones, terrorism, raises questions the original conventions never fully addressed. Non-state actors like insurgent groups or terrorists don't always feel bound by these laws, leading to asymmetric warfare where only one side follows the rules. So while the laws of war are noble in intent, their effectiveness depends heavily on political will and international enforcement. In conclusion, the Geneva Conventions represent humanity's attempt to bring a measure of morality into the darkest of times. They emerged from the 19th century with the goal of protecting human dignity during armed conflict, and they still serve as the backbone of international humanitarian law today. But they are not perfect. In many conflicts, they are violated, ignored, or undermined by modern forms of warfare. Yet without them, wars would be far more brutal, with no legal or moral compass at all. At their heart, the Geneva Conventions remind us of one thing: even in war, our shared humanity must not be forgotten. So what do you think? Do the Geneva Conventions truly limit the horrors of war, or are they more symbolic than practical? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.